kinds of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome back. Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live right here Tuesday, August 20th. And a lot going on. I'm Dean Obeidallah, as always, here to be your MBFF. That's what I want to be. I am desperate. I am needy. I can't deny it. A lot to cover today. And the theme, though, and it comes up so much in our discussions about what's going on in our society. When you step aside from politics, put politics aside right now. When you look at Donald Trump and what his whole strategy has been from when he came down that escalator in June 2015 through today, is to divide Americans. That's what, and his own strategy then, it made no sense to us, but obviously it was effective enough to win the Electoral College in 2016. So he's doubling and tripling down on it. And dividing Americans by faith, by race, by ethnicity, by sexual orientation, by gender identity, by immigration status. And today, Donald Trump gave something else. He served up truly a vile anti-Semitic trope. And it's something that's like in all the discussions we've had about the idea of loyalty and Jewish Americans and how someone could not grasp, but if you're going to suggest that Jews are not loyal to this country if they don't vote a certain way, how you don't get that's anti-Semitic. At this point, after discussions with Congresswoman Omar, and even though she didn't say that directly, just the suggestion of it caused a lot of backlash and he played on that. Then when he said today, and I'll play the clip in a second for you, but that's not what our discussion ends because there's so much more to what's going on with Donald Trump. But what happened today is in the White House, earlier in the day, he had took to Twitter to smear Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, saying literally, and quote, that she hates all Jews, and then was asked about it in the White House and had a discussion about Israel and about his support for Israel, and how Congresswoman Tlaib and Congresswoman Omar, in his view, do not support Israel and don't support Jews. And then he got to this really weird thing here. Because first he said he was stunned that Democrats, and you can hear this clip, and this didn't get much media coverage, but it says something. He said he cannot believe the Democrats are siding with those two members of Congress over the state of Israel, which is an odd thing that he would be surprised that Americans would be siding with fellow Americans over a foreign state. And I don't understand what, that got no press. It's very odd. But then he got into the anti-Semitic trope. And he says that Jews who don't support him but are supporting Democrats show great disloyalty to this country. And I've never heard of a sitting president in the White House say something this anti-Semitic before. Let's hear clip number one.
I can't believe we're even having this conversation. Where has the Democratic Party gone? Where have they gone where they're defending these two people over the state of Israel? And I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty.
Great disloyalty. And great disloyalty, the idea of Jewish people not being loyal to their nation has been a trope used against them through time immemorial. It's been used against them. Spain has been used against them by Hitler, obviously, and in other times in society by anti-Semites. It's, if you ever look at, and I have because I've written about it, any of the Nazi propaganda, that was one of their main points, that Jews will never be loyal to Germany. They're going to be loyal to Jews only. Which really makes it upsetting that some of the anti-Muslim bigots in America who happen to be Jewish, like Pam Geller and David Horowitz, say the same things about Muslims when they know that is a vile history. But in any event, and they're a teeny percentage. We have overwhelmingly Jewish Americans supporting our community, and we are allies, and Trump cannot tear us apart. But some have used this. And so now Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the ADL, who I've spoken to many times in the past, said, he tweeted it just a short time ago, "It is unclear who Trump is claiming Jews would be disloyal to, but charges of disloyalty have long been used to attack Jews. As we've said before, it's possible to engage in the democratic process without these claims. It is long overdue to stop using Jews as political footballs." That's the head of the Anti-Defamation League, folks, saying that on Twitter right now. And, you know, Trump's record on Jews and using anti-Semitism, it's sort of erased. Every now and then the media brings it up. And it's been tropes. It hasn't been vile hate stuff like some of his white supremacist supporters have said, but during the 2016 campaign, he met with the Republican Jewish coalition and he said, quote, "You're not going to support me because I don't want your money. You want to control your politicians. That's fine," he said. You imagine if Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib said about Jewish Republicans, "You want to control your politicians with your money," the outrage we would hear. They would go crazy. But because Trump said it during the campaign in 2016, no one says anything. During the 2016 campaign, Trump's final commercial, and this is truly almost Nazi propaganda. I'm not even kidding you. Except it was more subtle than Nazi propaganda. It featured grainy images of George Soros, who was used by the right all the time, a wealthy Jewish man. Everyone knows George Soros. Also images of Janet Yellen, then chair of the Federal Reserve, and Lloyd Blankfein, who was chairman of Goldman Sachs. All are Jewish. And in the commercial, it warns, Trump is saying it, darkly about the global special interests and shadowy figures, he said, partner with these people who don't have your good in mind. That's anti-Semitism 101. The idea that wealthy Jewish people are controlling society and that they have their own interests in mind, not society that they live within. So there's no doubt Jonathan Greenblatt, when he tweeted out today about this, he's concerned. Others were even more blunt. Elad Norai, who I don't know him, but he's a progressive Jewish writer, tweeted a short time ago about Trump's comment. Trump's anti-Semitic philosophy is exposed. If Jews don't agree with him, they aren't good Jews. This is how he gets us killed. Sides with the good ones and spouts hate at the rest, coded or not. Thus, the Soros caravan conspiracy that led to the Pittsburgh massacre. And that's such a great point by Elad there. And I've tried to make this point here, and on cable news and in mainstream media, they have not connected it as well. And we had discussion with Angelo Corazon and other experts. When they were chanting at Charlottesville in August 2017, 2 years ago last week, Jews will not replace us. They didn't mean Jewish people are going to come to this country and immigrate here and take their jobs. No, what they meant was that Jewish groups were helping refugees come to this country. They were bringing immigrants to this country. The man who walked in October 2018, walked in the Tree of Life Synagogue and killed 11 Jewish Americans in their place of worship, wrote verbatim, he attacked the Hebrew refugee service that was bringing Jews to, they were not bringing Jews, they were bringing refugees to this country, and he was mad they were bringing Hispanic and Muslim refugees. That's where the idea of Jews will not replace us comes from. That's why when Trump said they were fine people on both sides, it was such a signal to them. And it's like every day, literally, it's not an exaggeration, slight, I should say every week, but it feels like daily, another day, another self-professed white supremacist who likes Trump, who's a Trump supporter and is also a white supremacist, is arrested for plotting violence against minorities. And I'll give you the latest example. And folks, this is not a game. This is not politics. Trump did not make these people hate Jews or Muslims or Hispanic immigrants. They already hated them. Trump, though, has ratcheted up their fears, made them think there's an invasion coming, and also emboldened them because they think they have someone who has their back in the White House. And the point I've tried to make before is that during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s, when people like George Wallace, a segregationist, was elected in Alabama, that did not satiate the segregationists. That did not make the white supremacists go, "Hey, we got the governor. Everything's fine. We can chill." No, they stepped up their bombings. It got even worse. The 16th Street Baptist Church was blown up months after George Wallace was sworn in, pledging to preserve segregation forever. That's what happens when bad people think that the person in power has their back. They don't calm down. They get worse. That's what history has told us over and over again. So what do we learn now? Today, news story, a man in Washington State, a young white guy, Eric Lynn, apparently big lover of Hitler, sending death threats to a Hispanic woman in Miami and others. He was going to wire a man $10,000 to beat her up, to kill her. But it wasn't just her. It was about Hispanics in general. He wrote, and the FBI intercepted these conversations. He wrote and he posted, quote, "The time will come when Miami will burn to the ground, and every Latin man will be lined up against a wall and shot, and every Latin woman raped or cut to pieces." But per the FBI, between May and August, Lynn allegedly fired off a litany of hateful pro-Trump, pro-Hitler, violent Facebook messages directed at Hispanics living in Miami, using terms like exterminate and kill them. A July 10th message, which got a lot of press today, the FBI found, this is the FBI's reporting that the media picked up, one of the statements by this white supremacist is that, his exact words, I thank God every day Donald J. Trump is president and that he will launch a racial war and crusade to keep the, I will say N-words. He did not say N-words, as you would imagine. So he said that Donald J. Trump will launch a racial war and crusade to keep the N-words, spics, and Muslims and any dangerous non-white or ethnically or culturally foreign group in line. And he put the words in quotes, in line. And he added here, by in line, it is meant they will be either sent to a concentration camps or dealt with ruthlessly and vigorously by the United States military. That's what this man wrote. He was arrested. Another man was arrested Friday in Ohio plotting to attack a synagogue. I won't go into detail about him because there was no link that he liked Donald Trump. But there was certainly a link to him subscribing to the same hateful mentality as the man who went to the Tree of Life synagogue in October and another one who went April to a synagogue in California and killed one person. But on Friday, we learned something else, and this is connected to Trump and his incitement. The mayor of Dayton, Ohio, Nan Whaley, who you might recall, Trump went to Dayton, and there he publicly insulted her, saying very dishonest. She lied about his visit, she was saying, and he tweeted that the press conference they had was a fraud. Well, following Trump's comments, and we just learned about this Friday, Whaley, the mayor, received numerous threatening phone calls, emails, social media messages. According to the Dayton Daily News, one of the abusive messages said to her, "Get the hell out of this country, you disrespectful trash. Treason is death." As a result, they had to sign an extra team of detectives to protect her. Look, it continues. It continues. I don't know how many times we've had this conversation on this show about how Donald Trump has continued over and over to side with white supremacists and white nationalists over good Americans, or turn a blind eye to what's going on with the white supremacists and the white nationalists with comments like, there are fine people on both sides. Now, we saw another example Saturday. Saturday, there was a right-wing activist in Portland, Oregon. You may have seen the media coverage. Nothing horrible happened, thank God. So it didn't get a huge amount of media afterwards. But a right-wing group was having a rally unironically titled End Domestic Terrorism. One of the most visible groups that was going to be a part of this rally, and the media covered in great detail, was the Proud Boys. That's their name, the Proud Boys. An organization that has been designated a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center for spewing white nationalist memes, as well as for being horribly anti-Muslim and misogynistic. I know how anti-Muslim they are because Gavin McGinnis, their founder who gave up on them, when I wrote about him a year and a half ago, came after me on Twitter, said, let's get Dean fired like we got Reza Islam fired. He thinks they got Reza fired from CNN. And his whole goal was to try to get me fired from the Daily Beast or CNN. Like, they're going to fire me because I'm calling out racism and bigotry. But in any event, they came after me. Now, not the same way the other neo-Nazis who love Trump did. These are other people who love Trump. Now, they didn't pretend I was involved in terrorism. They just came after me and called me a bunch of names like you're a terrorist, but different levels. I'm used to that kind of bullshit. Let me tell you more about the Proud Boys. And again, the media covered this for days on end before the rally on Saturday. The Proud Boys would be the visible group that was part of this. According to the FBI, the Proud Boys are an extremist group with ties to white nationalists. This is the FBI. That has contributed to the recent escalation of violence at political rallies held on college campuses and in cities like Charlottesville, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. The Proud Boys were at Charlottesville at the Unite the Right rally. Given this history, if Donald Trump is going to comment Saturday on the rally going on, don't you think he would denounce the Proud Boys? Shouldn't a real president say, hey, I hear this right-wing hate group is going there, and I want to make it clear to the mayor of this city, if you need any help, the federal government is there to back you up. And if these guys do anything, they're going to go to jail. That's what a real president does. That's what a president of the United States does. Not Trump, of course. He doesn't do that. What does he tweet about? He tweets, and again, all the media coverage told you the Proud Boys were going to be there. I gave you their history, and I'll give you more history about how they're Trump lovers in a second. Trump tweets this instead. He tweets about Antifa, saying major considerations being given to naming Antifa an organization of terror, all caps, organization of terror. To be clear, Antifa, which is short for anti-fascist, is a non-centralized leadership group. They're all over the place. They've been involved in some violence. It's deplorable. It's horrible. In fact, one example is in Portland a few months ago, they beat up a right-wing reporter there. There's no place for that. It's horrible. Is it terrorism at the point of how we define terrorism? No, but denouncing Antifa by Trump, I had no problem with that if he had denounced the Proud Boys. But he did not. He was silent on the Proud Boys. He goes after Antifa for this reason. Antifa is an anti-Trump group as well. The Proud Boys are big-time Trump lovers. Again, as the Southern Poverty Law Center notes, documented in great detail, the red MAGA hat is nearly as prominent at Proud Boy meetings as the polo shirts they wear, which is their uniform. One of the Proud Boys' first public outings in 2017 actually, was a pro-Trump art exhibit. More recently, the Proud Boys have gotten even more involved with Donald Trump. In June, at Trump's kickoff, and you may have seen media reports of this, at the Trump's campaign kickoff, the Proud Boys were there, and the cops had to stop them because they were trying to physically confront the anti-Trump protesters. And when I mean confront them, I don't mean in nice ways. Like, they're young, angry white guys. They wanted to beat them up, and the cops had to stop them. The Proud Boys have now vowed to send even more people to every Trump rally. And the leader of the Proud Boys now, it's no longer Gavin McInnes, it's another guy, Enrique Tarrio. Somehow, folks, just somehow, no one knows how. We don't know how, because the White House won't tell us. In February, at a Trump rally, somehow the head of the Proud Boys got a seat right behind Donald Trump. Right behind Donald Trump at his rally. And when he was interviewed, he goes, I just got here early. No, you don't get a seat behind a rally of the President of the United States with Secret Service unless you are cleared and you're vetted. The White House will not respond how he got there. They will not tell us. Washington Post tried to get it. Everyone's trying to figure out, how did the head of the Proud Boys, now that we know more about them, get a seat right behind Donald Trump in February? And Enrique was so proud of himself. I got here early, and he said, I don't know, they just gave me the seat. Folks, you have the leader of a right-wing hate group that is violent sitting behind Donald Trump. That was by design. That was to send a message to everyone else in the right-wing groups who knows who he is. They are the Proud Boys sitting right behind Trump because we got Trump's back. And with Trump refusing to denounce in any terms other than reading off a teleprompter in a passionateless way, white supremacy is bad and we're going to dedicate resources only after El Paso killing. Yet anytime there's real passion and real Trump, what you see is goes after Antifa. Antifa is the way the left is trying to normalize white supremacist violence. That's really what this is about, folks. It's whataboutism taken to a level that is alarming and dangerous for our nation. As the Anti-Defamation League has noted, in 2018, 50 Americans were killed by extremists. 49 of them were tied to right-wing ideologies. 78% of those linked to white supremacy. How many Americans have been killed by Antifa? Anyone guess? The answer is 0. The people they've beaten up, again, it's wrong and it's horrible for anyone they've beaten up. It's been a handful of people. There have been prosecutions of them. In fact, in the last 20 years, do you want to know how many Americans have been killed by people with left-wing ideologies, according to the ADL? In the last 20 years, 15 people. Now, that's bad. 15 people in 20 years. There should be nobody. 15 people killed in 20 years. In 2018 alone, 3 times that as many Americans have been killed by right-wing terrorists. 3 times that. But Trump does not tweet, we're going to call the Proud Boys a terrorist group, or we're going to consider calling any white supremacist group a terrorist group. He will not do that. In fact, July 27th, a week before El Paso, Trump had tweeted again saying Antifa should be named a terrorist group, would make it easier for the police to do their job. A week before El Paso. Perhaps if Trump had focused on white supremacy then and dedicated the resources then, would have made it easier for the police to do their job and stop the El Paso shooter before he traveled 10 hours in his car from Dallas area to take the lives of 22 people at a shopping mall. Trump will never go after the right. He needs the Proud Boys. He needs white supremacists. There's no doubt about it. This is not a game. He's encouraging this violence. And I feel like we're having the same conversation, but I think every time it's important, just like calling out Donald Trump's racism and bigotry is important to me, and I hope it's important to you as well. That's how we prevent it from being normalized. But the idea of not connecting these dots to alert each other as fellow Americans, I think would be beyond negligent. It would be dangerous. In fact, just yesterday, 2 Proud Boys were convicted here in New York City for attacking people who had confronted them about their hate. They were charged, the Proud Boys, found guilty of attempted gang assault, riot, and attempted assault. This is the group that Donald Trump has the leaders sit behind him at a rally. This is not a game. If you study history at all fascists have used this kind of violence. They've used people who will enforce their ways, who will stand up to those who dare oppose the supreme leader. And this is what we're seeing right now in our country. It's not a game. This is not politics. This is life and death. And this is where we are. So I'd love to hear from you. You're my guest at the top of the hour, 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'll be right back after this on the Dino Bidala Show. Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks of it, he's lying every day in